You're walking down the street, not really paying attention, and suddenly a random memory pops into your head. Maybe it's something embarrassing from years ago, or a thought about what you'll have for dinner. You didn't choose this thought, it just appeared, and before you know it, another follows, then another, a chain reaction you never consciously started. So if you are the one thinking, why can't you stop these thoughts from coming? Try it right now. Sit still and stop your mind completely, not just for a second, but for a full minute. No thoughts, no words, no images. Did it work? Or did thoughts sneak in, reminding you that you're trying not to think, asking if you're doing it right, pulling you away before you even realized? This is where things get strange, because if you were truly in control of your mind, wouldn't you be able to turn it off like a switch? For centuries, people assumed there was a self inside, the one doing the thinking, making decisions, controlling the mind. But modern neuroscience and ancient wisdom agree on something unsettling. This thinker doesn't actually exist. Scientists have searched the brain for any sign of a central self, something controlling the show. But every time they look, all they find are processes, electrical signals, chemical reactions, neural pathways firing automatically. No little you sitting in the control room, pulling the levers. And that's where the illusion begins to crack. Because if there is no thinker behind the thoughts, then what are you? This realization is uncomfortable, but it's also freeing. Because when you start to see that thoughts are simply happening on their own, you stop identifying with them. You stop letting them control you. And that's when something remarkable happens. You wake up from the illusion. Now, what happens when you stop believing every thought that crosses your mind? Keep watching. Because once you see this, there's no going back. And if thoughts are just appearing on their own, who exactly is watching them? Something strange happens when you start observing your thoughts instead of identifying with them. It's like stepping outside of your own mind, watching the endless stream of chatter from a distance. The voice that tells you what to do, reminds you of past mistakes, plans the future, judges, worries, narrates your every move. It never stops. But who is listening to this voice? Right now, as you read these words, another part of you is watching, a silent awareness that isn't speaking, isn't judging. It's just there, observing the constant flow of thoughts. And the more you notice it, the clearer something becomes. The thoughts aren't you. This is where the illusion collapses completely. Because if thoughts arise automatically, and you are the one observing them, then how could you be the thinker? Imagine standing in a river, watching the water flow past. The river isn't you. You don't control it. It moves on its own. The mind works the same way. But here's the problem. Most people are drowning in this river, believing they are the water instead of the one standing on the shore. This is why people suffer. They believe every thought, every emotion, every fear is themselves. That voice in their head tells them who they are, what they should be afraid of, what they should regret, what they should chase. And they listen, never realizing they don't have to. But here's where it gets even more bizarre. If thoughts happen on their own, if emotions rise and fall like waves in the ocean, and if the mind is constantly generating stories without your control, then what exactly is in charge? The answer? Nothing. There is no thinker, no central self controlling the show, just thoughts appearing and disappearing, like clouds passing through the sky. The mind is simply running its program, conditioned by past experiences, biological impulses, and subconscious patterns. But the moment you see this, truly see it, not just intellectually, but directly, everything changes. You stop reacting to thoughts as if they are commands. You stop believing every fearful story your mind tells you. You stop being a prisoner to the voice in your head. Instead, you become the observer. You step out of the river. You watch the mind rather than be lost in it. And that's when a new kind of freedom emerges, a freedom beyond thought itself. The illusion of the thinker. If you are not your thoughts, then what are you? Most people spend their entire lives believing they are the voice in their heads, the constant commentary that narrates their experience. It tells them what to do, what to avoid, what to chase. It reminds them of past failures and future worries. It builds a sense of self, a character, a personality. But have you ever stopped and really looked at this voice? Not just listened to it, but questioned where it comes from. Thoughts appear from nowhere. You don't decide your next thought before it happens. It just arises, fully formed, as if whispered from an invisible source. One moment, you're thinking about what to eat for dinner, and the next, you're suddenly remembering a childhood memory from years ago. Who made that decision? No one. Your brain is like an antenna, constantly receiving signals from memory, emotions, and subconscious patterns. But here's the thing, there's no one inside controlling it. This is why ancient traditions and modern neuroscience both arrive at the same shocking realization. The self you believe in is a hallucination. It's a construction built from past experiences, learned behaviors, and a constant stream of automatic thoughts. Your mind has spent years reinforcing an identity, telling itself a story about who you are. But just because a story is repeated doesn't make it true. You've been living inside a character, playing a role you never consciously chose. And the most terrifying part, the moment you stop engaging with your thoughts, the character disappears. Think about it. Where is the self when you are fully present? When you are lost in music, in a breathtaking view, or in deep meditation? In those moments, there's no internal narration, no judgment, just pure experience. And yet, the moment the mind kicks back in, the self returns, picking up right where it left off, as if it had never gone anywhere. But now, you see the trick. The self isn't constant. It flickers in and out of existence, depending on whether you're lost in thought or present in the moment. It's like a dream character that only exists when the dream is active. So if the you've always known is just a bundle of thoughts, appearing and disappearing, then what's left when the thoughts are gone? This is where the real journey begins. The journey of discovering what remains when the illusion is broken. Breaking the illusion. You've spent your entire life believing you are someone, a separate self, a mind inside a body, the thinker behind the thoughts. But what if this was never the truth? For a moment, stop and just watch. Not with effort, not by trying to control anything. Just observe. Thoughts are happening, emotions are shifting, the body is breathing. But are you doing any of it? Breath flows in and out, the heart beats, sensations appear. Are you the one controlling these things? Number, they happen on their own. Just like thoughts, just like emotions, they rise and fall without permission, without a central controller behind them. But the mind plays a trick. It takes ownership of everything. It creates an I and attaches itself to every experience. I am thinking. I am feeling. I am choosing. But what if this is just a habit of language? Right now, listen to the voice in your head. Does it speak or does it just happen? If it were truly you, wouldn't you be able to silence it at will? Wouldn't you be able to predict your next thought before it arrived? Try it. Try to think your next thought before it happens. You can't, because thoughts aren't yours. They are happening to you, not by you. And this realization changes everything, because if you are not the thinker, then who is suffering? Who is afraid? Who is chasing happiness? Who is trapped? The illusion of self isn't just an idea, it's the very foundation of suffering. Every fear, every insecurity, every regret exists because the mind believes in a self that doesn't actually exist. But once you see the illusion, you can't unsee it. Once you step back and realize thoughts are thinking you, the grip of the mind begins to weaken. You no longer get pulled into every anxious thought. You no longer feel like a prisoner to emotions. You no longer believe every passing desire defines who you are. Instead, you watch. You see the thoughts come and go, like clouds drifting across the sky. You feel emotions rise and fall, like waves on the ocean. You recognize that none of it is you, just patterns playing out in awareness. And in that moment, the illusion crumbles. What remains when the false self dissolves? Something vast, something still, something that was always there, waiting beneath the noise. You, not as a thought, not as a story, but as the silent awareness behind it all. Waking up from the dream. If everything you've believed about yourself was just a thought, then what happens when the illusion shatters? For most people, this realization is unsettling at first. The mind has spent years, decades even, reinforcing an identity, building a self-image, crafting stories about who you are, what you like, what you fear, and suddenly you see it for what it is. A dream, a construct, a character being played by something far deeper. But here's the thing, waking up from this illusion isn't about losing yourself. It's about finally being free. Because when you no longer believe every thought, when you stop being dragged into the endless cycle of worries, regrets, and desires, you become something else entirely. You become the watcher, not the thoughts, not the emotions, not the shifting personality that changes with experience, but the awareness behind it all, and this changes everything. Suddenly, the things that used to control you lose their power. Fear still appears, but you see it as just another passing cloud. Anxiety arises, but instead of being consumed by it, you simply watch it, knowing it is not you. And with this shift, something unexpected happens. Peace. Not the temporary peace that comes from getting what you want or fixing external problems, but a deep, unshakable peace. The kind that was always there, hidden beneath the noise of the mind. This is why so many ancient teachings talk about enlightenment as waking up, because that's exactly what it is. Waking up from the story, from the illusion of being a separate self, trapped in a world of problems. And once you wake up, you can never go back to sleep in the same way. Yes, thoughts will still come, emotions will still move, but now you see them for what they are, just passing waves in an infinite ocean. And you are not the waves, you are the ocean. Beyond the mind, what remains, if you are not your thoughts, not your emotions, not even the identity you've carried your whole life, then what are you? Most people spend their entire existence trying to find themselves. They chase experiences, relationships, accomplishments, even spiritual awakenings, all in an attempt to grasp some deeper truth about who they really are. But what if the answer has been right in front of you this entire time? Take a moment. Close your eyes. Listen. What do you notice? Beneath the noise of the mind, beneath the endless stream of thoughts, there is something that doesn't change. Something that was there when you were a child, when you were a teenager, when you became an adult. Not your name, not your memories, not your personality. Those have all changed over time. But something has remained. A silent, ever-present awareness that has been watching, witnessing, experiencing everything from the very beginning. This is the real you, not the thoughts that come and go, not the beliefs that shift and evolve, but the presence that has been observing it all, untouched, unchanged. And here's where things get truly mind-bending. This awareness, this space in which all thoughts, emotions, and experiences arise, is not personal. It's not something that belongs to you as an individual. It is the same awareness that has been present in every conscious being. It has no beginning, no end. It is not trapped inside your body, nor is it confined to your individual experience. It just is. And this is where the illusion of separation collapses completely. The moment you stop identifying with thoughts, the moment you stop believing in a separate self, something profound is revealed. There is no you. There is only awareness, experiencing itself in infinite forms. This is why spiritual masters, mystics, and even some modern neuroscientists have all arrived at the same conclusion. The self is an illusion, but consciousness is not. And once you see this, life changes. You stop chasing things to complete you, because you were never incomplete to begin with. You stop fearing loss, because what you truly are can never be lost. You stop struggling to define yourself, because you see that you are not a thing to be defined. You are not a person having an experience. You are experience itself. And when that realization fully sinks in, the illusion of self disappears like a shadow in the sunlight. What remains? Everything. The end of seeking. For as long as you can remember, you've been searching for something, whether you knew it or not. Maybe it was happiness, purpose, meaning. Maybe it was a sense of belonging, of being whole. Maybe it was the answer to the nagging feeling that something was missing, that life wasn't quite what it seemed. But now, here you are. And the truth is standing right in front of you. There was never anything missing. The feeling of incompleteness, of needing something more, was just another trick of the mind. Another illusion. Another thought convincing you that you needed to find something external to feel whole. But if you are not your thoughts, if you are the awareness behind them, then how could you have ever been incomplete? You have always been here, always been whole, always been the silent presence behind it all. And the moment you stop looking for something outside yourself to complete you, the search ends. Not because you found an answer, but because you finally realized there was never a question. This is the moment where everything changes, not because life suddenly becomes perfect, not because problems no longer exist, but because the one who was constantly struggling to fix things was never real in the first place. When the illusion of self drops away, all that remains is life itself, raw, unfiltered, experienced directly. And in that moment, the search is over, because you were never lost. You were just dreaming, and now you're awake.